Whether you are a dealer or doctor or trafficker or a manufacturer, if you break the law and illegally peddle these deadly poisons, we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will hold you accountable.
Have you ever imagined that the polished man in a suit, the one who appears on TV every night criticizing border policies, was actually the living shield for a Mexican cartel for 15 years? 400 pounds of fentanyl, enough to kill millions of Americans, wasn't hidden in a cartel bunker but stashed right inside the luxury mansion of a Florida gubernatorial candidate. At 4:57 in the morning, the steel door exploded inward as the FBI stormed in and uncovered the horrifying truth: submachine guns, $9.8 million in cash, and an unlocked phone glowing with open messages to the Juarez cartel boss. This isn't an action movie. This is Florida right now. Are you ready for the full truth watch until the end? You won't believe how dark American politics can get. Whether you're a street dealer, a corrupt doctor, a cartel boss, or a manufacturer, if you break the law and illegally distribute these deadly poisons, we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will hold you fully accountable. 400 pounds of fentanyl, enough to put millions of lives at risk, wasn't hidden in some cartel tunnel. It was stored inside the private mansion of a man running to be the next governor of Florida, right next to tactical weapons, encrypted cartel ledgers, and shipment lists tied to overdose deaths across the state. This wasn't outside pressure. This was corruption built from the inside, protected, funded, and politically shielded for 15 years. Stay with me. You don't want to miss what comes next. "4:57 a.m. inside a sprawling luxury mansion on Tampa Bay. FBI and DHS agents flood the hallway like a silent wave. A motion sensor blinks once. Then the solid steel front door explodes inward under the breaching ram. In that instant, the perfect image of a respected Florida gubernatorial candidate shatters along with the doorframe. In a side room, agents freeze in disbelief. Reinforced metal shelves hold 400 pounds of fentanyl, 160 pounds of methamphetamine, and stacks of vacuum-sealed cash, $9.8 million ready for transport. Along the opposite wall, 54 weapons, modified AR-15s, short-barreled rifles, and compact submachine guns. This wasn't a drug house. This was a politician's palace. The kind of weapons cartel enforcers carry, not American politicians, but the most terrifying evidence was sitting right on the kitchen counter. Whitford's unlocked phone glowing with active encrypted chats from the Juarez cartel detailed shipment routes, bribe payments, and political protection that had been running for 15 straight years. The raid was over in minutes. The crisis it unleashed was only beginning. 400 pounds of fentanyl inside a politician's home. For years, Marcus Dillon Whitford crafted the perfect public image, a polished Democratic businessman turned politician, the rising star, running for governor of Florida. Every night he was on television blasting Republican border policies, calling law enforcement efforts cruel and heartless. Behind that polished image was a machine funded entirely by the cartel. His whole business empire was fake 27 shell consulting firms, 3 bogus real estate trusts, and 11 charities that existed only on paper. Financial records laid it out perfectly: small deposits starting in 2001 that grew into 6-figure transfers routed through Panama, Belize, and the Cayman Islands. After his arrest, Whitford admitted he'd willingly protected a criminal network of escaped Venezuelan prisoners responsible for 1,900 drug shipments and hundreds of illegal weapons deals. Whitford wasn't coerced. He was the cartel's inside man by choice. The Florida gubernatorial candidate himself was the cartel's human shield. Imagine a man campaigning to run your state, secretly covering for a narco empire for 15 years. The files ripped from Whitford's laptop took agents to a place almost nobody thought could exist inside the United States. Deep in the Everglades, 18 miles west of Interstate 75, drones pierced the swamp fog and mangrove canopy to reveal a hidden compound. From the air, it looked like a few rundown sheds, but under infrared, it lit up as a meticulously engineered cartel fortress, its perimeter constructed like a wartime military stronghold. Steel-reinforced walls topped with razor wire. 4 elevated guard towers manned 24/7 and 5 unmarked armored vehicles constantly patrolling the outer ring. Maritime-grade radar sweeping a radius of more than 120 miles, detecting any movement from miles away. But what was inside was even worse. Intelligence revealed 60 heavily armed mercenaries equipped with thermal optics and encrypted radios guarding 2 massive production floors where 42 hostages were being forced to cook fentanyl and methamphetamine. The victims came from 9 different countries, including 6 American citizens who had vanished months earlier. A cartel fortress operating like a full-blown military base right on U.S. soil. Just hours after confirming the Everglades compound, the federal government moved with lightning speed that showed how deadly serious the threat was. A closed-door emergency session was called in Washington, bringing together top brass from DHS, FBI, DEA, ICE, and military liaisons from U.S. Special Operations Command. Mission crystal clear: take down the Juarez Cartel's command hub and rescue 42 hostages before they could be moved or silenced. At 3:18 a.m. under a moonless sky, the operation kicked off. Two Black Hawks skimmed just feet above the wetlands, rotors muffled to a whisper to avoid early detection. Below, FBI, HRT, DHS tactical teams and DEA operators waded knee-deep through Blackwater night vision goggles, cutting green tunnels through the dense sawgrass. First objective: blind the fortress. An electronic warfare unit flipped the switch on a high-power jammer, instantly drowning the compound's radar and radios in a storm of static. Inside the guard tower's cartel sentries frantically slapped dead handsets, completely unaware federal teams were already at the outer fence. At 3:29 a.m., the breach order came down. When agents breached the loading bay, they didn't find machinery. They found rows of insulated containers, the same type Mendez cleared at the airport, stuffed with foil-wrapped bricks of banned substances. Upstairs in the office, investigators uncovered a handwritten distribution map showing the supply chain branching across Texas and neighboring states. But the most violent confrontation came hours later in San Antonio at a 2-story safe house rented under an alias tied to one of Mendez's employees. Federal teams swept room by room, clearing stairwells and corridors where the mercenaries tried desperately to regroup. The air thundered with suppressed rifle fire, barked commands, and the metallic clatter of spent casings hitting concrete. Despite the chaos, the agents advanced with iron discipline, pushing the enemy back toward the production floors. By 3:41 a.m., the tide had turned. One production hall fell, then the second. The last holdouts made a final stand near the southwest exit, but were overwhelmed in minutes. As the gunfire faded, rescue teams located the hostages exhausted, malnourished, but alive. Some broke down crying the moment they saw American uniforms. In Houston, a convoy of tractor trailers was stopped on Interstate 10. Beneath lettuce and onions lay hundreds of military-grade ARs, 50 cals conversion kits destined for cartel forces. This was no longer drug trafficking, it was a war supply chain. Surge's scale exploded across 22 divisions. Boston nabbed 85 CJNG Kansas City, 41 distributors. The New Jersey-Maryland pipeline collapsed in a single night. No place to hide. Results: 5,000 arrests, $200 million in drugs, weapons, and assets, seized dozens of command nodes, dismantled multiple supply lines, severed. Beneath the celebration lay silence. The next battle would not be on the streets. The war now lay within the system, not just against the cartels, but against the corruption shielding them. Type war if you want America to treat cartels as the enemy. While Operation Surge dominated headlines with handcuffs battering Rams and seized drugs, a silent battle unfolded: bank ledgers, wire transfers, shell companies, offshore exchanges. No gunfire, just numbers and influence. The true power of Sinaloa CJNG wasn't in soldiers or guns, but in their ability to buy silence, loyalty, and infiltration of the very agencies created to destroy them. Both surrendered without a shot, but not every encounter went quietly. In Lakeland, a 3-vehicle cartel convoy made a desperate run for Interstate 4. Florida troopers rolled out spike strips while DHS tactical units boxed them in. A brief but intense firefight erupted inside a citrus grove. When the smoke cleared, 6 operatives were in cuffs and crates of ammunition slated for distribution were seized. By noon, the operation pushed north. In Gainesville, ATF agents raided a metal fabrication shop that had been converting civilian rifles into illegal full auto weapons. They recovered 39 modified carbines, dozens of suppressors, and 1 Colombian armorer who quickly admitted he had been training Whitford's private mercenaries. Further south in Fort Lauderdale, federal teams stormed a seemingly abandoned suburban warehouse. Inside, a mobile fentanyl lab still radiating heat from the overnight cook. 2 chemists opened fire from behind steel mixers, but were instantly neutralized by flashbangs. The most dramatic takedown came near Orlando. A Juarez regional lieutenant known as El Rostro tried to vanish by boat through the chain of lakes around Winter Garden. Helicopters locked on. After a 14-minute high-speed chase, a DHS airboat cut him off. In his satchel, fake passports, encryption keys, and a handwritten list of friendly officials Whitford had promised to keep safe. In the first 18 hours alone, 79 cartel operatives were cuffed across Florida. Dozens more were identified through surveillance footage, financial trails, and confessions from the fresh arrests. For the first time in years, the Juarez network in Florida wasn't expanding. It was collapsing piece by piece under the full weight of the United States. When the last gunshot echoed into silence, the swamp fell unnaturally still. Smoke drifted over the shattered walls, flickering beneath helicopter searchlights. Medics moved fast through the rubble, tending to rescued hostages and stabilizing wounded agents. But the operation wasn't over yet. A separate low windowless annex sat half-sunk in swamp mud at the southern edge of the compound, still glowing with heat signatures on thermal scanners. Federal teams regrouped. Hostages were safe. Now they braced for what might be the final ambush. As they closed in, a hidden blast door hissed open and the last cartel gunman made a desperate breakout attempt. A ripping burst of full auto fire tore through the humid air, forcing agents to dive behind the collapsed outer wall. The mercenaries charged hard, sprinting for a concealed dock that led into the maze of swamp canals. They never made it. A DHS tactical element flanked from the right rifles barking with surgical precision, cutting the escape short in seconds. If the cartels operate like insurgents, we will treat you accordingly. We will find you. We will map your networks. We will hunt you down and destroy you. This enables U.S. Northern Command to provide intelligence, surveillance, and even limited operational support to law enforcement special forces for the first time. Drug enforcement ceases to be policing. It becomes a war plan. the objective shifts from merely disrupting or arresting individuals to defeating and destroying these organizations to protect the homeland. This new posture enables synchronized nationwide strikes across 22 divisions and 7 overseas regions, the very operation we have described as Operation Surge. Some had been active within the past 60 days. Every file reinforced the same conclusion. Mendez's role at the airport was just the beginning. The dark web network was the engine, a silent machine, feeding thousands of users, especially the young, without ever showing its face. By nightfall, the servers were sealed in red-tagged national security evidence bins reserved for the most sensitive intelligence. Easy to produce product with endless supply. The silent financial war rages on. Cartels swiftly recapitalize through cryptocurrency and shadow banking. The greatest threat, internal corruption. For everyday Floridians, the pain went far beyond anger. It was a fracture of trust that cut straight to the bone. At town halls across the state, elderly residents stood with trembling voices asking the same heartbreaking question. If the man who wanted to be our governor was working for the cartel, then who is left to protect us? Yet amid the chaos, one thing united everyone: the successful rescue of those 42 hostages. Their stories, forced to breathe toxic fumes day after day, listening to armed guards pace outside their doors, never knowing if they'd live to see tomorrow, reminded the entire nation exactly why that raid had to happen. The downfall of Whitford and the Everglades fortress will reshape Florida politics for an entire generation. The war against drug cartels in Florida demonstrates that the FBI and DHS are deploying a powerful strategy combining intelligence, surveillance, and highly precise raid operations. Florida, with its geographical location close to the Caribbean and South America, is an ideal transit hub, making cartel activities extremely complex and sophisticated. The scenario clearly reflects the tension as federal forces confront criminal organizations with enormous resources, heavy armament, and vast networks. Such operations underscore the U.S. government's determination to block the flow of drugs at the gateway. The Marcus Dillon Whitford saga leaves a lesson carved in blood that every American, and honestly everyone anywhere, must never forget: the most dangerous corruption doesn't wear a ski mask and cross the border with a rifle. It wears a tailored suit, smiles on TV, and begs for your vote. When a politician is willing to turn his mansion into a fentanyl warehouse, a swamp into a narco factory, and fund his campaign with blood money every promise of for the people becomes nothing but a mask. Always ask questions, always follow the money, always distrust the smile that's too perfect. Because if we stay silent today, tomorrow your family could be the next victims of the poison that came from the inside. Integrity isn't an option, it's survival. And that's the truth they buried for 15 years. A Florida gubernatorial candidate turned the entire state into the Juarez cartel's personal playground, stashed enough fentanyl in his mansion to wipe out millions, and used blood money to buy his way to power. The Everglades fortress is gone. 42 hostages are free, 79 criminals are in cuffs. But the real question still hangs in the air: how many more Marcus Whitfords are out there right now smiling into TV cameras like nothing's wrong? Smash that like button if you believe every politician needs to be put under the spotlight. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what's coming next, because the darkness has way more layers to uncover. Together we're dragging this into the light. Florida just started the fire. Now it's your turn. See you in the next video.